A very warm welcome to our weekly news magazine program, Bhutan This Week, and I'm Sherab Zangmo. Our top stories for this week. His Majesty the King granted an audience to the participants of the 21st National Judicial Conference. His Majesty the King and Her Majesty the Gyaltsen graced the consecration ceremony of the Dechok at Chari Monastery. And the members of the opposition parties say they too are ready to defer the salary hike, but only if doing so doesn't violate provisions of the Constitution or Parliamentary proceedings. His Majesty the King granted an audience to the participants of the 21st National Judicial Conference. The National Judicial Conference was held at the newly constructed Supreme Court. The two-day conference discussed various issues related to matrimonial cases, case proceedings and administrative matters. The first judicial conference was held in 1976. His Majesty the King also conferred Kapne and Patang to the Director of National Legal Cause, Lam Chechong. His Majesty the King and Her Majesty the Gyaltsen graced the consecration ceremony of the Dechong Lakang at Chari Monastery. The ceremony was presided over by His Holiness the Je Trizur Tenzin Dendup. The Dechong Lakang was built upon the royal command of His Majesty the King and Her Majesty the Gyaltsen. His Majesty the King also commanded that Chari Monastery be renovated for the convenience of the devotees. The members of the opposition parties say they too are ready to defer the salary hike, but only if doing so doesn't violate provisions of the Constitution or parliamentary proceedings. At a press conference, the opposition also said the salary revision, if possible, should be reviewed, since many people are not happy with it.
If the decision taken by the National Council to defer the pay raise is not against the Constitution and is not setting a bad precedent, the opposition leader, Dr. Pema Jamsu, said the members of the opposition too would like to do the same.
As far as we know, there is no development since the announcement by the council to defer their salaries. What we are expecting is for the government or the speaker to clarify whether this is permissible. Once the formal session is over, and if you do not agree with the decision of the parliament, the resolution of the parliament, whether you have the luxury, the freedom of dissent, of dissenting the resolution of the parliament, because as far as we know, the due process, the due parliamentary procedures have been followed. And the place for objection, the place for making a difference, the place for taking our position is in the House, in the Parliament. And as per parliamentary procedures, as per democratic principles, we have to accept the decision of the majority. So it was based on the number of votes.
Also at the press conference yesterday, Dr. Pema Jamsu said some of the media houses reported that the Prime Minister has declined the pay hike, which he said is misleading because it's not true.
We have read in some papers that the Prime Minister did not take the pay hike. I don't know where you got that information. He took the pay hike. Okay. The only thing he did was he announced that he would contribute part of it to a charity of his choice. Okay, so there is a big difference between, some papers have already reported that, you have to follow the Prime Minister example. That's not an example. Okay, so whether what he announced in the State of the Nation address was proper or not, appropriate or not, is in line with parliamentary procedures or not, I think that is also another question that we have been asking. And we would like to get the answer from the government. Whether what the NC is doing now, after the formal session of the parliament is over, is proper, is appropriate, is also something that we would like to hear.
The opposition party also said everybody is not happy with the recent pay revision. Therefore, the opposition says it would like to see if there could be an opportunity to review the pay raise.
You all know everybody is not happy. The civil servants are not happy, the general public, they are not happy. Most of the other bodies who are expressing their opinions, including some political parties, are not happy. So if that is the case, we would like to see whether there is an opportunity for the government to review the whole thing, to hand over the proposal back to the pay commission, take them to have a relook in terms of adjusting, making adjustment. Because one of the complaints is that the lower rung of the civil servants are not getting enough, and that the raise is only for the upper rung. If that is the case, I think it merits review, relook at it by the government, and then resubmit it in the next session. I think that would clarify a lot of things, and that would also perhaps be what everybody wants.
Ishingidup, PBS News.
Local leaders of Shamgang are not very happy with the salary raise percentage given to them. They voiced their grievances at a meeting with the finance minister recently.
The local leaders of Shamgang say the salary raise percentage they have been given has not met their expectations. So when they met the finance minister recently, they made sure their grievances were heard.
During the election campaign, the government stated clearly that salary of the local government leaders would be doubled. Today, in reality, the salary has been revised only by 39%. We are of course thankful for that, but I think we deserve a little more than that, considering the situation in which we work. For all the work we do, all we get is the monthly salary.
The finance minister responded that it is difficult to please everyone.
We did promise a 100% salary raise for the local government during the campaign. The local government salary has not been revised for quite some time. It is difficult to fulfill all your expectations, but we thought an increase from about 13,000 to about 20,000 is not bad.
Shamgang Songkhatsokdu chairperson also voiced grievances over the local government entitlement bill.
While National Assembly has passed the local government entitlement bill, the National Council has not. Many promises were made during the election campaign, but many of the promises are not translating into action. This is very demotivating. I am afraid it would adversely impact our efficiency.
The meeting was attended by the civil servants of Shamgang as well. Compiled for Pema Samdrup, Dishinongmo, BBS News.
Opposition leader Dr. Pema Jamso had posted on Facebook his thoughts on what Prime Minister has supposedly said in Bumtang on April 18 that the government would not take responsibility for developing Bumtang town. Dr. Pema Jamso had in writing asked the Prime Minister to clarify the statement he made to the people in Bumtang. Responding to the opposition leader, Prime Minister said the government will not leave out Bumtang town development in the current 5-year plan. Lynchen, in his response to the opposition leader, also said he was misinformed with regard to the Bumtang town development. In response to this, the opposition leader asked the Prime Minister to reprimand those who misinformed the Lynchen.
Prime Minister and I have a fixed schedule that every last Friday of the month we will meet one-on-one and exchange views. So during that time we took up again. So in my letter, what I have requested is, one, if you could formally communicate to the Bumtang DT chairman, Songkha Soktu chairman, and the Zongda, as well as the Tom Thumi, that development of Bumtang town would take place as planned in the 11 plans. Formally communicate there, not just to me, with copy endorsed to all the concerned. Anybody, if he could issue a reprimand to the people who have misinformed him and reveal their identities, names to me, so that we can sort this out at that level. That these people, these misinformants or troublemakers, do not keep on, passing wrong information. misinforming readers and so on. So we can avoid this kind of conflict, misunderstanding, and so we need to take action against them immediately.
With the hike in fuel price, opposition members have expressed concerns of inflation. With increased prices added by 5% fuel tax, it is natural that transportation charges will increase too. This in turn will raise the prices of goods and services, adding to the current inflation.
대기 잼디 가티고 포마서 지금 가자리기 자세기 공기 세시디고 포마발라 다 마후기 자상가 대구 태개병할래 때들은 가자라 다다 가게 마케미 때다 난딘잡니긴 때 산이툰레러 고송디 뒤쳐갈래량오베 다니 쳐갈래램달로 때 자상갑디기 마후딘 말레 때 가리나라축 디는 코나추 나케고베 때 아니 깨오들로 디나데니레 마치기 동세기 타린수디 때 가라 때 자체도수 가리나라 깨고베 때 마후 태 자상가야 제공할래 때 되게 자세기 공세 때 주탐베 제니나 장아베 제니나 때 데토도 디기 잼디 가티포나 미시베 아니 토기 사제데 땡가지 도시 호텔레 베루다 때다 남섬에 때 자기 bombe라 바디기베 땡가자야 순데 마투토 뱅가자 홀레디 티비 슈이스 슈니 조호나로.
The finance minister, who is currently in Trongsa, said that the fuel tax was imposed not to earn revenue, but to reduce the number of cars and import of fuel in the country. This was spelled out while meeting with the civil servants in Trongsa Dzongkhak.
때 마고기에 자생할 경우에는 다한 순간 남긴 에버리지 나로 테리캅 태국 두다 사게 되지면 테리캅 태국 딘디지면 야드마 조리도 먹어라 켜버 때 안에 배관에 쌓야 이자리지 돌리면 이버디 고야 생고미디 체계고미디 마제건데 핀스리 바나 12 rupees difference 유다 페트롤로 하시 말아도 진 12 rupees기 공토 안에 보다 제강이 총바 가디 주도 택시 가디 주도 다이징 웨스트bengal 가디 델리 가라 뱀수 가라 마훌루가 같이 나옵니다. 공기 같이 빼서 공기 디시 방미 아이시디 파담작데 아니 공기 아치치 홀미도 와르다도 아니긴 할래 엄마도.
As a party to the Montreal Protocol, Bhutan is mandated to phase out hydrochlorofluorocarbons or HCFCs by 2030. Bhutan, however, has achieved tremendous progress already. The country is well on track to phase out HCFCs in 2020, 10 years ahead of the Montreal Protocol schedule.
HCFCs, which stand for hydrochlorofluorocarbons, are harmful gases commonly used in refrigerators and air conditioners. HCFCs are known to contribute to ozone depletion. Thus, it is being phased out under the Montreal Protocol, an international treaty designed to protect ozone layer. Bhutan and Maldives are the only developing countries that have been able to phase out 10% of HCFCs by 2013 under the Montreal Protocol. Under the accelerated HCFCs phase-out management plan, Bhutan imposed import ban on HCFCs-based equipment. Bhutan has also introduced refrigeration and air conditioning curriculum in vocational institutes. Given the progress achieved so far, Bhutan is likely to be able to phase out HCFCs before 2020, a decade ahead of the Montreal Protocol schedule.
Bhutan also has to meet that commitment in 2015, but Bhutan has taken a step further and has already met that commitment in 2013. They are on the right course, and added to that is the value they are bringing in by linking it up with their carbon neutral and carbon negative policy.
More efforts will be made to achieve the remaining target of phasing out 90% of HCFCs. The supply and demand of HCFCs will be greatly reduced.
It's a highly technical sector, and because it's highly technical, in enforcement it poses a bit of a challenge, especially because HCFC comes in many different forms and many different names, and it's difficult to monitor import and export. That is one. Secondly, the consumer plays a big role in this. The challenge is getting the consumer to partner with us to go for non-ODS substitutes.
The plans to phase out HCFCs were implemented with a firm commitment to protect and preserve the environment and to protect the ozone layer. The countries signed and ratified the Montreal Protocol in 2004. The first initiative to phase out HCFCs was started in 2012. Chetan Dupchu, PBS News.
The construction of Chungshing Chakpe Farm Road in Jimicholing Gyeok in Sarpang, which began more than 5 years ago, is still incomplete. Now the people of Chungshing are saying they regret for giving up their land for the farm road construction.
Unlike other gyeoks in Sarpang, Jimicholing is the largest gyeok but least developed. The town lies near the national highway, but this proximity has brought no changes at all. People of 31 villages of the gyeok depend on this town. However, the town is filled with temporary huts dotted along the highway, which serves as shops.
We cannot build proper structure since it falls within 50 feet from the road right of way. I think town planning is necessary because we can then improve our shops to benefit the customers.
The shops haven't improved at all. There are no development activities, though a few constructions have come up.
The Gyeok administration said there are about 50 plots in the town area. In 2008, there were plans to develop the town properly, but the owners either had no proper thumb or the people didn't abide by the 50-feet rule as per the Road Act.
Developing town would not be possible here because the area is very small. There are some areas, but it is filled with terrace and the government rule doesn't allow constructions on wetlands.
Civil servants are also facing the difficulty of inadequate housing because there are no apartments available. However, the people of Jimicholing are hoping against hope that one day their town will develop. Ishori Guru, BBS News, Gilifu.
Cycling is slowly gaining popularity not just as a leisure activity but as a mode of transportation among Thimphu residents. But bikers say lack of bicycle lanes in the city makes cycling dangerous and are calling on the authorities to put in place bicycle lanes in and around Thimphu city.
Riding bike is his passion, but it's not something he does just for leisure. But lack of bicycle lanes in and around Thimphu is something that bothers every cyclist. It does not hold them back from cycling, but they do worry about their safety.
We were told one time that there was a plan to create about 70 kilometers off-road lane that within the vicinity of Thimphu, and I don't know where that is, but if that do happen, I think that would kind of provide an opportunity for new riders as well as old riders to get off the road and as well as ride on the road. If they prefer to ride on the road, then I would suggest that educating the drivers, especially the cab drivers.
Cyclists are a common sight on the roads in Thimphu now. Not very long ago, cycling was just a leisure activity after work or on weekends. Not anymore. It is slowly catching on as a new mode of transportation. This group of boys wish to ride to school on their bicycle, but they are, like other cyclists, faced with the same obstacle, the lack of bicycle lanes.
Cycle the city, Dundi Dusa, Namasan bomb in the Shunil, cycle the Saudi. Down about the Garitska window, the Katuchabing and Kaidul.
Sonam Singh is another avid biker. He in fact is the champion of a mountain bike race held in 2010 called Tour of the Dragon mountain bike race. He had also participated in various international biking events. Today, he and some of his friends have come up with trails for bicycle enthusiasts to learn how to ride a bike.
I strongly support that, like cyclists, especially in Thimphu, they really deserve a proper bike lane, especially like for the health enthusiasts. If they are riding on the roads, they really need a proper bike lane because
my club and like I'm sure most of the other riders have encountered like many problems with the traffic, because my club members, we still have a case pending in police, like where once a car nearly like hit one of my kids during our ride through the road. So I really support like cyclists, especially in Thimphu. They really need a proper biking lane and proper like traffic rules for both four-wheelers and cyclists.
Thimphu Thomde has created bicycle lanes in some parts of the city. This is how it looks like. And this is all it can afford right now, says Thimphu Thomde. Creating or constructing bicycle lanes separately would require a huge amount of money, which the Thomde says it does not have.
Just by putting a yellow mark, if the motorists understand that, oh, this line means that we should not cross, then it is safe for the bicycles to run in that lane. Otherwise, it proves very expensive for the city to create biking lanes, meaning you will have to have dividers put everywhere, not to allow the cars to enter into that biking lane. And providing dividers all over, kilometers of dividers, will be very expensive, and I don't think city will be able to provide such facilities at any point of time.
Cycling, no doubt, is increasingly being considered a viable form of transportation to get around, including to work. The option has become even more attractive in the face of rising fuel prices and traffic congestion. But bicycle lanes are crucial if cycling is to gain momentum as a popular mode of transportation in cities and towns in Bhutan. Ishingidup, PBS News.
After shifting to the new town area in December last year, the residents of Dagana town thought things would change for better, but it is otherwise. People still complain about lack of proper infrastructure that a town should otherwise have.
This is the new Dagana town. New buildings have been constructed, but the town is plagued with same old problems that existed in the old town.
The road is not being blacktopped, and there is also a need to erect street lights so that our cars are not vandalized and things stolen. Without light and proper road, it is dirty and place insecure.
If municipal maintain the road and drainage system, there would be no dust and surrounding would be clean. It has become very difficult for us without proper drinking water, as we have school-going children. People who have vehicles fetch water, but it is a problem for us who do not own a vehicle.
There is acute drinking water shortage. We don't have anything to say against the government, but it is the people who execute the work. We always complain to the Dzongkhag and municipal who assures us with the service, but the problem continues.
With funds from Asian Development Bank, almost 80% of the water supply system is complete. The town is also allocated with over 4.5 million yultrum for 2015.
In the 10th 5-year plan, we could not provide any facilities to the town. But now in 11th 5-year plan, we will give every facilities to the town.
We don't exactly know when it will be complete, but residents might have to wait for another a year or two. Compiled for Kinzang Chile, Pemal Harden, PBS News.
Even today, shamanistic rituals are performed in many parts of the country, seeking spiritual interference in one's life. Shamgang, one of the least developed Dzongkhags, is no exception. Shamans play an important psychological and curative role in rural areas where supernatural is part of life.
Invoking the spirits with rhythmic beat of the drum, This is 62-year-old Karma. She's from Berthi village under Trongyok in Jamgang. Today she is being invited to cure a man in her village who is sick.
I became shaman without learning from anyone, and basically I perform rituals when people fall sick because of local deities. I also practice astrology whenever people request me.
And locals trust Karma for her work.
We request her when people fall sick because of local deities. And we have two different types of shamanistic rituals. One ritual will last for one day and another ends in just a few hours. And it has been practiced for generations.
But Karma is the lone shaman in her village. She said such practice will slowly disappear as it doesn't attract young people. She said shamanistic rituals are as important as modern medicine. But in the face of evolving modern and scientific healing, will such practice survive? Compiled for Pema Samdrup, Tanin Finso, BBS News.
Guinea's Exidia, locally known as Siu Shamu, is gaining attention for those living in the central and northern parts of the country. The mushroom has been fetching a good amount of price for about 3 years now.
This is the mushroom, the Siu Shamu. People living in the higher altitude, at least 3,000 meters above the sea level, go to collect the mushroom, for it brings them good revenue. But it is not an easy task. However, locals in Chamgung say it is worth putting an effort. The mushrooms do not go to the markets straight out of the forests. They are dried and stored before they are sold. The local villagers do not know their buyers or the customers. What they know is that the buyers come at their doorsteps to get the Siu Shamu. Meanwhile, the National Mushroom Center in Yusupang has taken a move to study and find more details on the mushroom. The center even shared its concerns on the sustainability of the Siu Shamu.
Because of the market demand, almost everyone actually is collecting this mushroom. Yes. People from the villages, people walking on the roadside, people who have access to this mushroom, everybody is collecting it. And sustainability is a concern. Another concern is how people harvest the mushroom. Yes. It grows on dead wood grows species. And if it is the dead wood on which the mushroom grows is removed from the bush, yes, then its cycle is actually over. Another thing is people decorticate, remove the barks of the live trees to encourage mushroom growth. Yes. This will also kill the bush on which it grows. So sustainability is a concern. Yes.
Meanwhile, villagers are hopeful that the prices of Siu Shamu will increase this year. Compiled for Sangeet Tenzin, Namge Wangchuk, PBS News.
Well, that is all we have for you this week. Join us again next week for yet another edition of Bhutan This Week. Until then, this is Sherab Sangmo saying goodbye.